Welcome everyone to the Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will podcast.
My name's Nick Mantosi.
And I'm Will Cashman. And before we let you know who our guest is tonight, Nick and I both want to say thank you to all of our listeners, everyone that supported us, and everyone that is following us currently on Facebook and all the places. Honestly, truly, thank you. It is awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. It is it's an honor, honestly. We did not expect this to go the way it's been going, and it is blown up, and it's because of you guys. So thank you so much.
Yes, you all have a piece. Wait, there it is. You all have a piece of our heart. Love that. So today, we on Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will, we talk about recovery a lot. We talk about different things that don't get talked about enough, those fun things, but then we also have guests. And the goal of having a guest is sometimes so a guest can share their personal strength, experience, hope, their own recovery journey. And today we have a guest, and her name is Brittany Townsend. She is joining us from Florida. And a little bit about Brittany, at least I'll let her tell the rest of this, but a little bit about Brittany is she is a certified peer recovery supporter in the state of Florida in 9 different counties. She's working with peers, and she's got a recovery story that she's going to share with us tonight. And Brittany, welcome to Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we get into the recovery story, who are you? Who's Brittany Townsend?
Today, I am a present mom. I'm able to be there for my kids. I'm myself again. I'm a hot mess at times, but I take life and enjoy it. It's my controlled chaos. But most importantly, though, like I'm a present mom. I'm there emotionally and mentally and physically and just all the things that I could possibly be in this moment.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Awesome.
Presence is something that we get to do in recovery today.
Mhm.
It's weird because like during active addiction, I felt like I was present, but it wasn't very
Maybe
present.
physically.
Yeah,
Physically, we
that
were
was
present.
it.
Oh,
Everywhere else checked out.
That's where it ended. Yep.
Okay, well, so Brittany, what was life like for you growing up, and when did the substance abuse first enter your?
So growing up, my dad kind of dabbled with substance abuse. My stepdad was an alcoholic. And I was the oldest of 2. I learned what not to do from my younger sister, if that makes sense. Was the one that had a pretty clear head on her shoulders, but still, I think was just very troubled and naive, I guess you would say, because I didn't really pay too much attention to my dad's substance abuse until after, later on in life. Addiction didn't hit me until later on in life. I was in my 30s.
Wow.
I think the weight of everything that I had dealt with and just buried it down. I got tired of being the one everybody depended on and was like, oh, she's the one that's got her head on. No, I don't. And no, I don't. And so, I picked up, and the first words out of my mouth were, I know what to look for. And
Yep.
she yoked me up. She yoked me up good.
So you said 30 years old.
Yeah.
That truly defines that addiction does not discriminate at all. It does not care about your age, your race, doesn't care. It does not care. That's wild. I truly believe that a lot of addiction stems from the experiences that shape our lives. While it is the disease of addiction, a lot of what brings us to that point is that the experiences that have shaped our lives and how we respond or react to those experiences. So, out of curiosity, at what point did you start to realize that your substance use became a problem?
Well, very quick. Very quick. I started using December 2019. And that was the first time I picked up. By January 2020, I was using every day. I found a stash of money that we had set aside for my son's daycare. It was about $1,400, and within about a week or two's time, I was down to probably like $500.
I
Yeah, so
can
I knew pretty quickly it had a hold on me.
Yeah.
yeah, that's scary how fast it can happen. I think actually in my book I talk about my drug of choice, which was meth.
Mhm.
I knew the moment that hook set, I was in,
Mm.
and I wasn't gonna without help. Like because of that feeling, all of it, it just was like, this is not good, but it was so good,
Mhm.
you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It
I can.
quickly became the love of my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the only one that would never leave me. There's that.
He does that every show.
Every episode.
Yeah, no, I can agree too. I mean, I remember when I actually got into treatment, I remember like writing a letter to my drug of choice and my addiction.
Mine.
And it was like a breakup
Yes.
letter, and I was just
Mhm.
like, freaking bitch.
Yeah.
They made
I had
me
to,
write a letter to it was a eulogy letter to my kids,
yeah,
my parents, that sort of thing. I have all of my treatment work still. Like,
I mine was I had to talk to a chair in the middle of the room.
Mm.
Yeah, and as if the chair was my addiction, and I wanted to pick that thing up and toss it across the room. I would have been kicked out of treatment if I would have done that, but because like since I did that, I have sponsees that I've done that with now. It's like, look at that chair and talk to that chair as if it's your addiction. And they look at me like, what? Why? But then they do it. And it's amazing how much anger we actually have towards that addiction and resentment and all that
Mhm.
built up. But yeah, I love that you shared that. What did addiction start taking away from you once that hook set in, once it became that regular thing? What did you start to notice it taking away from your life?
The first thing was time, which sounds kind of crazy because on meth, you have all the time in the world, you think, you know, but it took so much time away from the important people, my kids. And then within a matter of 6 months, I was loading my son up in the back of DCF's car,
Oof.
very quickly. DCF showed up at my house. I'm on a 14-day safety monitor. By the time that 14-day safety monitor came in, I was loading him up, and he was gone. And from that point, that's where my biggest downfall was. Because at the time I was a functioning addict, or so I thought. And
Yeah, right.
from there, it was everything just happened very quickly. My apartment, everything. I lost everything, my job, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, so that was the moment when that downfall hit. So what was the moment that you knew something had to change?
I knew that that's kind of hard to explain because I knew I needed help, but I was very codependent at the time. And so a lot of my issues stemmed from not wanting that person to be alone. Um, but I think my biggest epiphany, I guess you would say, was the accident that I had gotten into. Um, I don't remember. That's the only time I've blacked out. It's the only thing that I don't remember as far as my addiction goes. I remember falling asleep and then waking up sideways on a vehicle. And then parking my car somewhere, freaking out. The shadow people came in. It's the first time I've ever seen them.
Yep.
Panicked. And they were multiplying. I'm on the phone with my mom, like telling her, I said, I know that they're not real, but I can't unsee them. And then calling my DCF caseworker the next morning and telling my caseworker, like, listen, I was driving on a suspended. I drove up the side of an SUV. I fell asleep. She knows I don't have a license. She knows I have a loaded gun in the car with a felon. You know, she knows I'm under the influence, all of these things, and a hit and run. And I'm telling her everything. Like, I'm just like, you know, spilling the beans. And at that point, it was like, yeah, you need to go sit down somewhere.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, was that your rock bottom? Like the absolute rock bottom?
My absolute rock bottom was the day that I had gotten arrested for some stupid measly charge out of everything I've done, right? I'm out there ripping and running and doing dumb shit and everything I've done. And I got picked up on a trespassing charge. Okay. And they load me up in the back of the car and I'm with my best friend and she was living out of her van at the time and speedballing. It was bad. And I remember hollering out of the car, just go to warm with me. That was the rehab. And they handed her my Narcan and I'm sitting in jail. And at that point I knew, like, I need to do something. I don't belong in jail. I have a really foul mouth and I'm either going to get beat up, you know, or I'm going to end up in solitary. Something bad's going to happen. So that's when I knew something really needed to change.
I love that.
Yeah. So after all of that,
Yeah.
What did the beginning of recovery look and feel like for you?
It sucked. I'm not even gonna lie. Like my first two initial attempts, right, at the rehab was a shit show. I was told I couldn't come back without a court order. I got my court order finally. And I got there July 14th. That was a Wednesday. That Friday, I found out my son was put in foster care.
Wow.
That Monday, we had a meeting with the judge, and she told me I was not getting my son back. She was not giving him back to me. And at that point, I had the opportunity to leave, but if I left, I was going to jail because I was court ordered here.
Right.
And I knew I did not want to be in jail because I didn't have as much freedom in jail as I do here. So, you know, I think at that point, I finally surrendered. I had a lot of people had a lot of bets on me that I wasn't going to make it. And I think that was my drive for a long time, was prove them wrong. And to this day, 5 years in, I still tell myself, prove them wrong. You know, I'm not going to say I don't struggle, because I do. There are times I actually, it's crazy. We're talking about it. I had a drug dream last night. It's the first one I've had in 4 years.
No kidding.
Yeah. I woke up this morning and I was like, what is going on? And, you know, prove them wrong. That's all I can tell myself is prove them wrong. And so it sucked at first. Recovery really sucked. And then once I finally surrendered and sat down and started working the program and doing what I needed to do, I got my son back the day before Thanksgiving in 2021. You know, and that really set the tone for how everything else was going to go after that.
I have a question about that battle for custody again. What was that like, and being or having to prove to that judge your, like, how did you separate your track record from who you were becoming in order to get your child back? That's I hear it all the time up here, how difficult it can be, especially if there's, you know, drug charges or it's attached to trespassing, whatever it looks like. It's very difficult. So what was that experience like?
It was hard, but thankfully, you know, I had the rehab that did a lot of advocating for me. You know, my caseworker, who I never hid it from anybody. Once my mom knew I was using, I had no problem telling anybody, yes, I'm getting high. Yes, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing, you know? So I think that kind of helped in my favor a little bit, was the honesty with the judge. But it was, like I said before, like, prove them wrong, you know? The only thing I can do is become a better version of what I was, and what I was doing doesn't define me as a person, and it doesn't define me as a parent. You know, it's
that part. That's it.
you know, I was stuck in a rut and confused and lost, and I was in a dual diagnosis program, which helped out a lot. And like I said, they did a lot of advocating for me. So
That's awesome.
The part you keep saying is prove them wrong. I remember being in Matt Talbot locked facility for my first 60 days of being in recovery, and they told me the statistics of how many of us are going to stay clean. They're like 1 out of 6 of you is going to stay clean, and I'm like,
Yep.
well, I am not going to be one of the ones that go back out. Like, I remember saying that to myself, and I'm like, I don't know if that was still part of the active addiction leaving my body or whatever it was, but it stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am not going to be part of that downside of that statistic.
Yeah.
yeah.
They say, so that's wild because the stat that I got, probably because there were only 8 of us in treatment, they said, well, 2 out of 8 of you are going to make it through here and stay clean for your first year. But when you look at those numbers, that is staggering because, I mean, can we break that down into a fraction? It's 1 out of 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 1 out of every 4 people will make it. That's insane.
Yeah.
And on a larger scale, yeah, this stuff is literally life or death. Recovery is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. It's
Prove them
crazy.
wrong.
But yeah, that's it's coming to my head every time you say that. I'm like, I remember what chair I was sitting in. I remember the counselor that said it. I remember the scene of what was happening, and I'm like, I am not going to be that. I'm going to prove them wrong.
That's right.
Yeah, I had a lot of people, even in the rehab, that didn't want to get close to me because I was known for running. I stayed for 30 days and I took off. And then, I came back and I snuck off campus and went to the store and bought a bunch of contraband and snuck it back in. And I was a shit show, So
I love that.
Well, kind of speaking of that, so what was the hardest part, okay, of learning how to live without substances?
my emotions.
Oof.
Oh,
I really enjoyed the feeling that meth gave me. Like, it was like this euphoric, always in a good mood, nothing until it wasn't. But I felt good, and like it suppressed so much that I had been trying to suppress for a long time by myself. So I think like that was the first thing, was like really sitting down and understanding what emotions I was feeling and where these emotions were coming from. And we did some pretty heavy therapy. I can't think of the term of it right now, but it's where it's almost like a hypnotherapy type thing where they put the things in your hands.
Yep. EDMR.
Yes, EMDR.
Yep. Or
So we did that. Did a few sessions of that. That was a little intense, but I think that was definitely one of the hardest parts, was just sitting with what I was feeling and not trying to suppress it.
So I have a question on that.
Mhm.
When I was in treatment, it was my very first meeting, and we were going through like the readings before the meeting. If you know, you know. Yeah. But there was a certain line that stuck out, and it was give yourself a break. And immediately, my rape came back to me, and it was something that I had suppressed for a long, long time. So when you say the emotions, I can relate with you 100%. I know Nick can too.
absolutely.
Yeah. My question, share what you want. And I don't want to dive deep into this because what you're willing to share. What were some of the traumatic events that you had to process in your early recovery that you had been suppressing?
So one of them, in my previous relationship during active addiction, you're familiar with how meth affects the body. And so we there were certain things that I was told I needed to do in order to fix our relationship. And that was bringing in a third person. And so we had found ourselves, his uncle is a part of the lifestyle. And we had found ourselves at a certain lifestyles club in Kissimmee where I had to watch him with other women,
Mm.
and then was belittled for being upset about it. Um, it was bad. So I had to kind of work through some of that because it really affected my self-esteem. And the things like, even now thinking about it, the things that I did and allowed for so long, regarding that situation, I can't even, I have to forgive myself for. Because, that's part of the addiction, and it's part of, codependency, and it's part of the need or the want for somebody to accept you so badly that you were willing to lose yourself for that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of working through that, and then working through my dad's passing was a really tough one. My counselor had to sit with me for a long time on that one. She'd touch on it a little bit, and I'm like, all right, we're done.
Like,
um,
no,
that one was hard. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
I can relate to a lot of that. Other traumas that occurred even during active addiction, things, well, yeah, things that happened with other people. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that you have worked through that and that you continue to work through that. That's
Uh-huh.
strong. And again, prove them wrong.
All
We
the
do.
time.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, you have another question?
Well, yeah, yeah. So during your early days, being in recovery, who supported you through that, and what did that support really mean to you?
Um, my mom. My mom was my biggest supporter. My stepdad, despite the drinking, he I think him and we had a really tumultuous relationship growing up because of the drinking. And then I think we both kind of were going through this addiction thing together in a sense. And so I think he really started to understand my side of things. I started to understand more about him. So he was a really big supporter. Oddly enough, my oldest son's stepmom, I have to give her so much credit because she stood by me, kind of pushed me through it, would send me pictures, they really rooted for me. And then, my aunts and cousins, but definitely the three main people was my mom, my stepdad, and my son's stepmom.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Family is I think we learned that in treatment too. Like we have the inner circle. I keep doing that in front of my microphone. We have the inner circle, but then, if that circle doesn't come in right away, we have the next circle of people and then the next circle. But we're never, ever, ever alone in this struggle as long as we remember that. That's the first step is remember I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that, and I'm grateful that you also had, support in those early days. So there's also moments in our lifetime that I think also put us towards recovery, especially when they happen and we live through them, and all of a sudden we're finding ways to cope with it. And this is something that I can relate to. It's in my book, something that I did, and that was try to end my life. Uh, when you and I had chatted a little bit ago, when this process got started about having you as a guest on here, you had shared something about taking an attempt on your life. Um, would you be willing to share with our listeners kind of what happened and how you've gotten through that as well?
Yeah. So, nothing, just to let you guys know, nothing is really off limits for me. As uncomfortable or as emotional as I get, I try to share every aspect of my story for somebody to relate to. So that being said, it happened fairly early in my addiction. I had wrote letters to my kids. Um, I was done. I was again like trying to deal with my dad's death, who, mind you, my dad died when I was 18. Um, and here I am like 31, 32. And I could hear him and I could smell him. And I was physically driving myself crazy. I couldn't please the guy I was with. I couldn't keep anybody to stay. I'm losing my kids. I'm losing my mind. And both of my kids were there at the house, the apartment, and he was there. And I put it in my mouth and I pulled the trigger. And, unbeknownst to me, the clip was empty, which is
Wow.
never a thing. Um, and so, that I think was, and I did it in front of my kids. My oldest remembers it very vividly. He has talked to me about it quite a few times. Um, you know, Not a proud moment as a mother, because I looked at my son and told him it was his fault, and it was me projecting. It had nothing to do with him at all. Um, And so that's just been a lot that's another thing I really had to work through in rehab, you know, trying to understand why I projected so much onto my kid. And he was so young. He's 15 now, but he was 9 or 10 at the time of that occurrence. So, it was rough.
Imagine.
I'm sitting over here trying not to cry.
I'm trying not to, and I'm shaking.
I think that's I can relate to that pain. I know what that feels like. You know, Brittany, I think that gives a lot of strength to our listeners that have struggled, might be struggling. That there's something on the other side of this, regardless of what the outcome becomes. And when we don't always know, that's the thing. And I think that's where my struggle came from too, was I didn't know what was going to be on the other side of it, but I feared it. So I thought that taking control of it was going to be the solution. And in my instance, I woke up. I woke up and I put my car through a telephone pole. And when I woke up, I remember that feeling of, oh my God, like I this doesn't feel good, but I'm grateful at the same time, you know?
Right.
Um, but I can relate to that. And not having bullets in that clip, we can call it what we want, but we know who that was.
Yeah.
That higher power it's a thing. We
Mhm.
can call it whatever, the big cheese, the powers that be, Harold the doorknob, whatever we want to call it. Something was watching out. So I'm so grateful, honestly, that you are here today,
Same.
that you still getting through that. That for me, it doesn't ever go away. That I've tried that before, but that reminder of I'm getting through it, I'm still working on it, and I have a purpose for living today. That's huge. Thank you so much for sharing that. Truly,
Yeah.
that that meant a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So, how did recovery affect your relationships with your family and your friends and yourself?
So, a lot of proving to do. And I think me staying at the rehab for longer than my allotted time, really kind of showed them that I was serious this time. My mom and I are a lot closer than I think that we've ever been. Even closer than before active addiction. Even the relationship is just, it's so different now. My stepdad and I, have grown this understanding of each other, and a bond that he almost, in a sense, I don't want to say takes the place of my dad, but he is following in that path. I have friends that I grew up with that have reached out to me and have told me that they are so proud of me, even though they distanced themselves during my active addiction, who are now coming back into my life. And I'm super grateful for that. The relationship I have with myself now is a lot different. I'm more self-aware. I have placed a lot of boundaries and learned to say no without an explanation, because no is a
Right.
complete sentence.
It is. With
you
or
know,
without the Yep.
absolutely. I have set certain standards for myself. If you don't check off these boxes, I don't need you in my life. I used to be this big social butterfly. And now I like to be in my bubble and have a very close select few people that I keep around. I'm very careful and cautious with my time and myself and my family. I'm more aware.
Yes, that is a gift of
Yeah.
recovery, 100%. I can totally level with you on that, because I used to be a completely different person before active addiction myself, and coming out of active addiction, like you said, that self-awareness of just being careful of who you let in. You can be that social butterfly, but you can keep those people at arm's length and still, you know, do that. But you have that closer circle group that you can actually be open to, instead of just open to everybody and then just being let down or getting hurt all the time, because it wasn't supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
Oh, what my
And
sponsor says is nothing changes if nothing changes.
that's right.
She has drilled that into my head. And when the pain gets great enough, Brittany, you'll do something different. That's what she tells me. And it's like, I hear you.
Right.
That's those boundaries too are so important in recovery. The lack of an active addiction is what led, a lot
Yeah.
to more of the pain that I had,
Right.
but having boundaries, I get to, it's advocating. That's what it becomes. I get to advocate today for myself, and you're probably not going to like it at
Mhm.
all, because it's the first time that I'm saying, well, that's me. And I'm not using it as an excuse. It becomes, that's me, and that's what I'm not willing to tolerate today. I can accept everything about you, everything. You're good, you're bad, whatever it is, but I don't have to tolerate it today. And I love that about boundaries.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The people pleasing, I'm so over it. Like,
So exhausting.
it is. It's very, very.
Right.
Yeah, love that.
So Brittany, tell us something that you've learned about yourself that you couldn't see while you were actively using.
That I can make it through anything. That I'm capable of healing without hiding.
Ooh, yeah.
I am a good mom, despite there's no manual for parenting, and
That's
and and I'm a good mom, regardless of my setbacks. Um, I'm a good
Brittany,
person in general.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Say that again. One more time. I'm a good mom.
I'm a
Louder
good
for the
mom.
say it again.
I'm a good freaking mom.
Thank you.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Thank you. That's right. You are a good mom. All right, as you were. I wanted to drive that point home.
I mean, it's been a long time, since I've been able to say that, because it was drilled in my head for quite some time, the mistakes I've made with my kids. And, I was told at one point, you have to be a mom to celebrate Mother's Day. And I was 2 years into being a mom with my second. So like, um, So I was beat down with a lot of things and blamed for a lot of things, and even things that were out of my control, despite how I handled the situation. Um, so yeah, that's my biggest thing right now is I am a good mom.
There it is.
Yes, you
There it is. Own that shit.
Yeah.
That's right. I love that. So you've been in recovery for over 5 years, right?
5 years, July 12th.
Okay. Right on. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how has your understanding of recovery changed over that time? And this, I'm especially going to listen in on this because I'm about to celebrate my 2 years on Saturday, and I've noticed little changes, big. I mean, there's been big changes, but I have this like when it comes to people with like more time than me, because it amazes me how much they know and all this wisdom. So how has your understanding of recovery changed during that 5 years?
There's no one way, you know? That's the biggest thing. Like in the beginning, I was 90 and 90, and you know what I mean? Drilled about NA meetings and AA meetings. And, this is the way you had to do it. And this, you need to follow these steps. And after a while, like, honestly, when I first got out of rehab, right, they tell you 90 and 90. When I first got out of rehab, I didn't do any meetings. I didn't have a sponsor. I white knuckled it for a year and a half. And, got a job and was doing my thing and, sharing my story on Facebook and whatnot. And, then certain things changed and my surroundings had gotten a little more difficult, but still remaining clean in that situation. And that's when I started with the meetings. And so after a year and a half of being out, I started with the meetings.
Yeah.
I celebrated milestones up until year 4, which I called my sponsor. I said, I don't really feel any different. It doesn't really feel like anything. I almost felt numb in a sense, like it wasn't a big deal. And then this year, I'm like, hell yeah, I hit 5 years. I didn't even think I'd make it this far. So honestly, I feel like it's different every year. What I have noticed though is in the very beginning, you have this drive to stay clean. And you almost, the more time you have, if you are not careful, complacency is going to sneak up. So being very self-aware of where you're at, understanding your addiction and how quickly it can come and take place, is the only thing that gets me through. I know for a fact, and I tell a lot of my participants this, I have another run in me. I promise you I do. I don't have another recovery in me.
Yep.
And so if I go back out, I'm not making it back. I was diagnosed with some heart issues. If I go back out and use, God only knows what I'm getting a hold of. And 2, my heart's not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
So, I do meetings on occasion. I work in my step work. I call my sponsor. But it's just very different than what it was in the beginning.
Valid. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm noticing too, and I'm coming up on year 2, but I did the 1,090. I was at a meeting a lot. But I've noticed over time as I've learned more about myself too, that I'm grateful for the fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like that understanding that there's all pathways, multiple pathways to recovery. Just the same fellowship that I can get in the fellowship of any A, I can get through connecting with somebody that reaches out to me on Facebook and says, "Hey, I'm struggling today," you know? And I've had a few people do that. I've had people reach out on Instagram, and I get that same feeling of helping someone. It's all part of that recovery process. So I think that even mixture really does help. And I get it. There's people that are like, okay, straight up, like, you know, I'm the god of AA and I'm the god of NA, I'm NA police and all that. But at some point, it's gonna get tiring.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is I've hit that peak, but now I don't want to go downhill just because I tell myself I'm being complacent because my brain is switching on how my support looks. You
Right.
know,
That's
if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Or we all on the same page. We
Yes.
put that throw it down. Okay, spitting bars. That's right. Sorry.
I think the most important thing is just being honest about where you are mentally and emotionally with your support network, you know, no matter who that is. Because if I'm struggling, if I say something to somebody, I'm not going to go out and use because I can't hide it. Right. And so as long as I tell you, hey, I want to go get high right now, that's how I'm feeling. I'm not going and getting it because now you know and you're going to tell on me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
I
tell
think
as many people as I can.
I love that.
I
I love that.
I've noticed kind of like what we were just talking about, how like that change in the support and whatnot. Because like I used to have a certain group when I would first started out. You know, I talked to my sponsor at least every day, maybe every other day, just depending on the day. But I talked to other addicts, other people in the program as well every day. And my support group has kind of like kiltered or switched to different people, just because, not because I'm losing touch with my sponsor, but just because I've just grown this relationship and, you know, support for them and me as well. You know, it's cool how it works. You know, the first time that I think it was within my first 90 days of actually going to meetings, I was sitting in there, and this is my own like weird way of thinking about this, is like I felt like, you know, the people that bring their kids into meetings, like sitting in there, not really knowing what they're talking about or what they're doing or what's happening. I'm just sitting there like, I'm just here and happy. You know, but then after a while, working those steps, having that support, you know, it just kind of, that aha moment of, okay, this is why I'm here, you know, and it was just one of those cool revelations to like actually be like, okay, this is cool now. Like I'm enjoying this, like for a different.
It's so great. I love that.
I'm enjoying this for what it's meant for now.
Yes, exactly. The purpose of recovery, the common unity, the common welfare.
Yes.
That's what it's about. What are you most proud of accomplishing since you've entered recovery? What has been your biggest accomplishment?
Doing everything I said I was going to.
Ooh.
I told the rehab when I left that I was going to be back as an employee. And
wait a minute.
Yeah, and they usually have a 2-year wait.
Right.
They got me back. They got me as an employee a year later. They fought for me to be there. You know, and I did that for 2.5 years. I told them I was going to make some noise out in the community. It took me a little bit, but you know, I've been able to do that now with the job that I have. But those 2.5 years kind of really shaped where I'm at now. I talked about wanting to become a peer support specialist, and I talked about wanting to work with teens, and I talked about it so much that like I've talked it almost into existence. I wasn't supposed to have the job title I have right now. I applied for their front desk position, and they opened a position for me as a peer support specialist, as the second person working with the teens out here. And they didn't even know I wanted to work with teens. So it kind of all like really fell into place. And then next thing you know, I'm speaking at events and doing in this, you know, and doing all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely coming back with a vengeance and doing everything I said I was going to do.
Love that.
And I'm
so
not done.
much. Yeah. It ain't over yet.
Nope.
So proud of it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. So let's, for our listeners, what is it that you do today? Explain that.
So today I work for 0 Hour Life Center. We are a recovery community organization that helps bridge the gap between residential treatment and long-term recovery. I work with adults and teens in the drug court program, teen court program. And my goal is to help them set goals and build a better future on their recovery, whatever it looks like for them. So, sitting with them and talking to them and saying, okay, what does recovery look like for you? What is, your spiritual beliefs? How can we work together as a team and get you on the right path? I have some participants that I go to NA meetings with, some of them come into the office and we do vision boards, whatever it looks like for them and accomplishing their goals and getting them graduated. And, I have some that graduated and they still see me on a monthly basis. So
That's brilliant.
That's awesome.
yeah.
I'm also a chemical counselor in the state of Ohio, and there's a certain moment, and I'm not going to say it, but I want to know what your favorite moment is in a client that you are working with, either a client or a peer that you work with. What's your favorite moment as you're helping them for you?
I got to resort back to the rehab because I think that's where I had a lot of my aha moments of I'm right where I need to be. And it's seeing them come in and then you can see the surrender. You can see okay. And then it's almost like something kicks on, and they're getting it and they're understanding it and watching them kind of grow in that aspect. And then when they leave, and of course I couldn't add them on social media until after I left there, but adding them on social media and seeing the growth and seeing them sponsor people and having them come to me and say, I had one girl was like, you saved my life. No. Don't put the pressure on me. You saved yourself. I gave you the tools to help you do that, but it's definitely just seeing that aha moment. As far as what I do now, I have a teen who was resorted back to the docket and he asked me to come to court with him. And I got to the courtroom and he hugged me. And at that moment it was like, okay, I have a purpose. I have a purpose and it's much bigger than what I thought it was going to be, but here we are.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
That's for me. It's the moment the light turns back on.
Yeah.
And I really think it's a physical thing. Like it's night and day when they finally do get it. You can see it in their eyes. That's also how I know that you are a professional in the recovery field, because that seems to be that like consensus on what the favorite moment is. It's when we finally see them get it.
Mhm.
Like I love that so much.
Kind of like turning the humanity switch back on.
Yeah.
Human. I've been watching a lot of vampire shows lately, so I apologize.
Oh my god, nerd.
I just finished Vampire Diaries. I'm so sad.
That's okay. I've been
Watching Mayor of Kingstown, so we're good.
Yeah.
watching Heartstopper. I'm late to the party on that too, I guess, because
I don't know.
it's been out for a while. It's a UK show. But it's really cute, and it's Charlie and Nick, and they're so wonderful, and I love them. But anyway, it's such a good show. What would you say to someone listening who wants recovery but doesn't believe that they're capable of it just yet?
Try it out. At any point in time, you are capable of anything that you put your mind to. The hardest part is starting. That is the hardest part. If you could just start, you can do it. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of how bad do you want it.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
So, before we close, Brittany, where can listeners follow you and support what you're doing today?
Facebook and TikTok.
Okay.
Okay.
I make sure I get those links. I think I already have them. But listeners, if you're listening, I hope you're listening. If you're listening, endless paradox. If I keep saying that, or palindrome. But listeners, I will make sure that I post Brittany's links in the episode description for everyone. Brittany, you are very inspiring,
Yes.
incredibly inspiring. This has been what a treat.
Yeah.
Honestly, what a treat. I've actually been looking forward to this quite a bit. But it's funny because we get different guests on here, and every single one is different, but we have those similarities in our recovery, in the aspects of our recovery. So I was really looking forward to having you on here. You've been wonderful today.
Yes.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much, truly, for joining us.
Yes. Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah,
This is
thank
awesome.
you for having me.
Yeah, that was. You are an incredible woman. You are a great mother.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Yeah. You are a great mother. And don't you dare stop telling yourself that, because you've come a long way. You have definitely come a long way. Very grateful to have you join us tonight. We're going to take a quick ad break, and then we will close out this episode. So, listeners, we have a few things coming up. Our schedule has kind of it's gone all over the board, but that's okay. We've had some cancellations based on their own schedules, but it's okay. And what we're learning as we're going through this is that it's okay. I have this tendency to get really high strung when things don't go the right way, but acceptance is key, and I'm learning that it's okay. So
You're doing great.
you're doing great.
There it is.
Say it right there. Yeah.
You're
So
doing great, sweetie.
thank you. Thank you. So this Friday, August 14th, ARC Recovery Fest is coming up, 834 Grant Street in Akron. We are going to be there. Colors Across the Sky. Okay, there it is. Colors Across the Sky, A Journey of Hope. My books will be available for sale, and we are also bringing the podcast with us, and we're going to be going live from the event. We're going to record with Miss Rachel Osborne.
Woo!
So excited for
Yes.
this. Rachel does a lot for ARC Recovery Services. So very, very excited to get an inside look at how she does everything that she does and what ARC Recovery is all about. That Recovery Fest goes from 5 until 10 p.m. this Friday, August 14th. And then August 15th, is my book release. It's going to be held at the Jadfa House, Just a Dad from Akron. That's 916 Kenmore Boulevard. That starts at noon, goes until 2:30. And
Then we are going to
some other places.
and then that same day we are going to a
we're going to be at a camp out.
the
right?
camp out, and we're going live with my sponsor.
Yeah, we're going to be going live with Dane G.
Dangerous.
Yeah, Dangerous. I love it. Dane Garris.
Yeah, his name is Dane Juras, but when you put
Is
them
it Juras?
together, it's dangerous.
I keep calling him Dane Garris.
It's so awesome.
Sorry, Dane. Love you, Dane.
At least I think so. I hope I'm right. Sorry,
Sure,
Dane.
we're gonna call him Dangerous. But that's happening actually this coming weekend, and then a lot of other things are coming up. Recovery Unfiltered is also going to be going to the Blue Water Recovery. Oh gosh, here we
I
go
know
again.
every time.
Blue Water Recovery Outreach Center's Recovery Fest in September. That's September 12th coming up. We're bringing the book, we're bringing the podcast. And then on September 19th, this has just been added to our schedule. Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will is going to be at Hope Recovery Community of Medina's Ride for Recovery. And this is going to be awesome. Over 300 bikers, motorcyclists, It helps raise money. It is their biggest fundraiser of the year. It helps raise money for their recovery housing program, all of their functions. It puts paper towels in the house, puts coffee in the coffee pots, trash bags in the trash cans. It pays for everything. So we are very grateful to be a part of that. We're going to have a table there. We're going to be going live from the event, which is going to be great. I'm hoping we get to speak to a few people while we're there. And then we've got our schedule continues to grow and change over time. It grows and changes. And then in October, oh gosh,
I can't remember the date either.
yeah,
Sorry.
October. I think it's the last weekend of October. We're going to be down in Florida for the Beyond Gender Conference. Again, we're taking the podcast down there. We're going to be bringing, yeah, girl, we're going to be in Florida.
Yeah, come see us.
Okay. So we're coming to see you. And actually, I think we're going to be right by you.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I think it's
We
in
gotta
D-Land.
talk about some things because I have an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. And then also coming up October 17th. So we're back to tracking a little bit. Speaking of Hope Recovery Community in Medina, I am going to be doing a book signing there as well. We're bringing the podcast. If you haven't figured it out yet, if I'm bringing the book, the podcast is also coming with. But we're going to be sitting down with Stephanie Robinson. I'm hoping, we haven't confirmed her just yet, but I'm hoping for Stephanie Robinson and Emily Magistro. And we're bringing the topic of court integration, what an RCO does, a recovery community organization does, and why it's such an integral part of court integrated services and recovery, and what it looks like for a community that needs integrated resources as well with mental health, behavioral health, and recovery. So we have a lot coming up on our schedule.
Not to mention other episodes of just us. So
Yeah.
it's a lot.
There's a lot going on. But I think that is a wrap for episode 10.
It is.
If you have stuck around this long, we are so grateful for you.
Thank you.
Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com / The Recovery Unfiltered Podcast. Also on Facebook, Colors Across the Sky on TikTok, Where There's a Will See on Instagram. We're all over the place. Just search Google for it. And we've got t-shirts.
We've got t-shirts now.
Colors Across the, well, there it is. Colors Across the Sky.
Boom. Boom.
Yes. Fresh, hot off the press today.
Just got them today.
Also check out colorsacrossthesky.com. There's merch. There's sweatshirts, there's t-shirts, those just went up. Some cool stuff. There's the bitch I'm clean, bitch I'm sober sweatshirts. That was that just happened. There's the fuck addiction sweatshirt that just got added today. There's some cool stuff up there, so go check it out. colorsacrossthesky.com. Click on the products page and help support a really cool cause. All right.
I just want to shout out to the people who made this. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Austin, thank you.
Thank you, Austin. We appreciate you. Told you we'd wear him tonight.
Austin with, I think it's Double Dose art and graphics. Okay, it's double dosed. But he did our shirt orders and it turned out really well. So I'm very excited about that. This has been episode 10 of Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will.
My name's Nick Mantozzi.
And I'm Will Cashman. Have a great day, everybody. We will hopefully see you next week.
Love.
Bye.